Dragon's Lair, Las Vegas, my boy Flex Lewis's gym. Today we're gonna do a lower body focused hypertrophy day. Today's my first week of eccentrics for triphasic. We're gonna also do some plyometric drills, some low-level plyos. I'm gonna use a lot of machines after I do my compound lifts. And we got a bunch of equipment here, so a bunch of machines that I like from Prime. So follow along, let's do this. What I'm doing right here is an adductor drawback. So I'm focusing on pulling my knee back, activating my adductors, and then on the far side of the downside leg, I'm squeezing my glutes. I'm getting full hip extension, and then I'm driving an internal rotation, making sure that I'm maintaining a position of my knee where it's not pushing out. I'm also tying it into my obliques, working on rotation here. That's gonna help with the gait pattern, the locomotion. It's also gonna help me stabilize my trunk and help with rotation overall. So we're gonna go ahead and do some low-level plyos first, then we'll transition into some speed and acceleration, and then we'll go into a trap bar deadlift, again with that slower eccentric down. 5 seconds on the negative, pause for a second or two, and then drive back up. Did the low-level plyometrics, doing some A-skip, B-skip variations, just to get some tendon stiffness, and then went into some acceleration work. So that was unloaded acceleration. So we went from a 2-point stance, rolling into an acceleration. We went from a kneeling stance, again rolling into that acceleration. Went on a side kneeling with an external rotation, so a hip opener into that acceleration. And then I went into a side bend with internal rotation, basically a crossover step for rotation, and then into acceleration. So now I'm gonna go with load, and I'm gonna go with a march into a sprint. So it's gonna be a 5 yards march and a 5 yard sprint. We're gonna keep it very light. I'm probably gonna put a quarter on here. The goal is to make sure that I'm loading my hips when I go with the march. Then when I get to 5 yards, I'm exploding out. So I'm going from a very low dynamic to a fast dynamic movement. So we're moving on to the compound lift. We're gonna be doing 5 sets of 4 repetitions with a 5-second eccentric. We're gonna pause at the bottom and then explode up. I also have a heel wedge here from Prime. We're gonna go ahead with the lower handles. So I'm getting a deep knee bend here. So my hips are gonna be lower than parallel. Then I'm gonna drive out of the hole in that deep knee flexion. Then from there, I'm gonna go ahead, give me an active recovery. Where I'm just gonna do sideline clamshells to hit the glute med and to work on abduction. So the weight isn't heavy, it's only 3 plates, but the eccentric makes it difficult and just maintaining that position on top of the fact that box this morning, travel, all of that, but not making excuses. When you do eccentrics and you're doing them for volume, definitely lighten the load a little bit so that you can keep the tempo honest. Don't try to do too much weight to where you're not keeping that tempo consistent. So now we're gonna move on to some unilateral work, a lunge variation and a hinge variation. I'm gonna do a dumbbell reverse lunge on a box. So I'm gonna do a step down reverse lunge. And the goal is to get that deep stretch on the backside and pull my weight up with my hamstring, get back onto the box. We're gonna go 3 by 8 each side. Then we're gonna go into a superset. I'm gonna rest about 60 seconds, and then I'm gonna go a single leg RDL, so single leg Romanian deadlift. So now we're moving on to the machines, and with the Prime Fitness equipment, you can change the resistance profile in mid-set. So what I'm gonna do is, first 5 reps, I'm gonna work the shortened position. So I'm gonna actually have more resistance at the end range of the motion. So I'm gonna blast through and I'm gonna try to pause at the most shortened position. We're gonna accumulate a lot of fatigue there. The last 5 repetitions, I'm gonna put more resistance at the lengthened range. So as I go down and I'm fully lengthened, it's gonna be more resistance. So I'm gonna have to blast through the start and then just ride that wave throughout that motion and then come back down, controlled, explode through. So again, it's a good way to basically burn out the hamstrings, bias out the hamstrings, and then, like I said, change the resistance profile in mid-set. I'm gonna superset this with just basic calf raises. You're using a little bit of calf when you're doing a hamstring curl. And if I dorsiflex my feet, I'm gonna hit more calf with the hamstring. So now what I'm doing is I'm just gonna finish it off. Instead of going in dorsiflexion, I'm gonna go stretch and dorsiflexion and then go to plantar flexion and then drive more blood into the calf. So that's a wrap. We did the low-level plyos. We went into the acceleration work, then went into the eccentrics focused compound lift, switched it up, went more unilateral, then finished off with some biased out hamstring work and some calf work with the machines. Very simple. I'm not at home, but when you're in Vegas, you come to the Dragon's Lair. Flex done a great job. I've known him for years. Shout out to him. Want to use any other programs that I have available? Go ahead, click the link down below and get access to it. See you again next time. Peace.